Take a roll. Yeah. Yes. They're rolling. Hello, welcome to Toastmasters in the Community. My name is Sue Brooks, and I'd like to introduce the host of our show today, Rachel Weiss, who's going to be filling in for Fran Okeson. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you, Susan. I wanted to thank all of you, our home visiting audience, our visiting audience here in the studio. I especially want to thank the crew for being flexible and versatile today as we've experienced some interesting challenges and changes. I also want to thank Kenny Graham from CTV and the assistance that he gives us each week in making sure that this program happens. Today's program, we're going to have several very interesting speeches, and our first speaker of the day is Isaac Gilbinovich. Isaac is our director of the show, and he's in the control room right now. Isaac's speech is going to be about his frustrations. The title is My Frustrations. Isaac is a distinguished Toastmaster. He's been involved with our Toastmasters in the community for many years. He does an excellent job as our producer, and it's a pleasure to be able to get him out of the control room so you can hear him speak, because as a speaker, he is a professional speaker. Isaac, welcome.
Yes. Okay. Today is a real different show from probably most of the shows, because I'm out here and only one person is in the control room. So we will work together. How do we get our speeches? One of the table topics question was like, how do you get your speech? What inspires you to get your speech? How do you prepare for a speech? What I do is sometimes it's just whim. Okay, something I saw, something I did, somebody told me something. That's how a speech idea comes up. Sometimes it's other person's speech. Like, for example, our producer, Fran Okeson, she was giving a number of speeches telling us how the show is created, how the show is going on, what's involved, what does it take. Okay? I'm a director on this show, so my part is technical part. I'm in charge of cameras that you see. I'm in charge of the microphones, the sound. So to make sure that everything works technically when show goes on. Fran's job is to prepare the show in advance, to create the agenda, to make sure the speakers are in place or on time, to make sure everybody is present. So it's a tremendous amount of work, tremendous. Okay? And it's going on, and she does an amazing job. My speech title is My Frustrations, but what I didn't say, I didn't give the full title because I didn't want to give it out. My Frustrations as Director. That's what the title of my speech is. And believe me, as a director, I have a lot of frustrations. Before each show, I start with a little speech. It's like an introduction speech. I introduce the studio, I introduce some equipment, and it goes something like this. We record this show, and we do not edit it. It goes on the air as is. So please make sure that you do not walk in front of the cameras. When you need to get to the lectern, you have to go around. There is a little pathway around the cameras. You get here, and then you look at the camera, number 3, which is right in front of you. This is your home audience. Try not to look at the monitor at yourself. Look down at the camera. Please do not bang your hands against the lectern, because the microphone is very sensitive, and we do pick up the sound in our control room, and it's not good. Okay, it's like a background sound. Please not to do that. Try not to do that. Please look at the camera. Do not turn around, because when you turn around and you look at the wall, we do not hear you, and we see the back of your head instead of your beautiful face. This is your box, so try to stay in the box. Do gestures, do move, but in the box. Try not to go down. to pick something up. Prepare it here so you can pick up easy, and do not get out of the frame. Try not to move around too much, because now I'm not in a frame. So this is my little speech. And every show, I should scratch that, very often I get something like this. Hello, my fellow Toastmasters, studio audience, and viewers at home. Yeah, we understand you're nervous. It's okay. It's okay to be nervous, especially when you're first time in front of the camera. However, remember the little speech. Today I'll be talking about interpersonal communication between people and how it improves your life. I have here, I have a book here that I wrote. Now we don't see your face anymore. We see the book maybe, but not your face. And that's what we need to see. So why don't you put it on to the side so we can see both your face and what you're showing. Why do you have to look down to pick up your, it's right there. You know it's here. Just pick it up and show. From this side or that side, doesn't really matter. Okay? Try not to bang your hands against the lectern. You remember what I said. When you need to talk to, it's very, why have to do this? Just keep your hands to the side or down, or it doesn't matter. You can gesture. You can have beautiful gestures, but this is not right. And I just said about it. I will have hard time demonstrating how you can walk in front of the camera when you're not supposed to, because now I have to go completely out of the box. But believe me, it's very frustrating when people do not actually, they listen, but they don't hear you. We need to hear each other and respond accordingly. It is important. And I told my crew, actually, we were talking about today, I told my crew, I said, you're lucky you don't see me in a control room. When I go like, okay, Isaac, calm down. 1, 2, 3. Number one, because I have to be calm. I cannot scream and yell. It's not my crew's fault. They're doing their job to the best ability, and they're good at it. They're very good at it. But it's frustrating when you just said something and people do not understand, but not responding. Because of nervousness, because of forgetfulness, because of, well, maybe it's not so important. Yes, it is. Everything is important. Little things make a big difference. It's a TV show. We are on air. We are on the air. We are on the air twice a month. And we don't even know who's watching, how many people. But people do watch because we get feedback. We get letters, we get phone calls that people liked it or didn't like it. So let's make sure, all of us together, that we do a professional job. Although we're not professionals, we're all volunteers, all of us. We actually spend our own time, our own toll money to get here. I come from Brooklyn. A lot of people come from New Jersey. But we're doing it willingly because we love it. We have fun to do that. So when we're not frustrated like this and everything flows well, it's a wonderful feeling. Madam Producer.
Thank you very much, Isaac. So today you're getting to see a little bit of behind the scenes of what has to be done to make this show for you, our home audience. Our next speaker is Joan Maurizio, DTM number 3. The title of her speech is Increase Your Word Power with Words You'll Never Use. Increase your word power with words you'll never use. Joan Maurizio.
Thank you, host and co-host. Yeah, I got this from my best buddy, the Reader's Digest. I will not cover my face. Thank you, Isaac, for your speech. And the name of this is called The Best Made-Up Words Ever. And what I'd like to tell you is words that you may pick and choose from what you would like, because they do affect more people in some instances than others, depending on your lifestyle. So you'll get the gist once I read the first few words, I'm sure. The first word is universe. That is universed with the Y-O in front of it. And this gal here is showing what universe means. And the meaning is the immediate environment of the terminal narcissist. Not to make fun on ballerinas or anything like that. They do a great job. But you do have to be somewhat of a narcissist when you're practicing so many hours and looking so good and your best outfits, and then you're up there with the cell phone to do everything on camera so you could see yourself later. It's funny how some things have changed in the world since cell phones and computers have become so popular. Now this is me, the afterclapper. It is a person clapping after everyone else has stopped clapping. And part of that is, I'm busy timing. I can't clap when everybody else claps. I have to shut off the little timing mechanism to get a true reading. So I'm guilty, but I have an excuse, Your Honor. Next is beer board, and that is when two or more extract secret information from somebody by getting them drunk. This is not a new thought. It's just a new word. This has been going on since the Cold War and before that. Anyway, you guys in Secret Service know what I'm talking about. The next one is cheerdrobe, not to be confused with floordrobe. It's the person that puts everything they have been wearing all day on the chair instead of using the wardrobe or the closet. I'm experiencing this, but I understand why when it says contents may settle during shipping. This word is chip tease. This is when you get a bag of potato chips and it's 3/4 empty when you open it. But that's for a reason, because if they put it in a smaller bag, there would be potato dot chips, tiny chips. Dilemma. There's the dilemma, and then there's dilemma. And this is the choice between two equally boring outcomes. And I guess that's what the DUH is for. Next word is aorist. Actually supposed to be errorist, but they put the pronunciation on AIR, even though it's spelled error. Errorist, someone who's repeatedly or invariably wrong. I raise my hand. I may be very guilty of that. The next thing is faupology. It's F-A-U-X, of course, meaning fake. And this is an insincere expression of regret. And we know as children we did this a lot. I did a lot. All right, I'm sorry. Oh, that's not the way. From the heart. Oh, I'm sorry. I promise I'll try not to do it again. And I'm very sincere about this because I don't want to poke out your other eye. How serious is that? Then they have the internest. And you can guess from the word nest at the end of internet. They've only added the letter S, but you can guess what it is. And many people do this, especially this time of year. The cocoon of blankets and pillows you gather around yourself for extended periods to use the internet. And one naughty thing I found out was one father went up to his son and threw the covers off, and what was the kid doing? He was watching porn. Be very suspicious when your children do this. Build that cocoon and stay there for hours. Then there is metox, as in detox. It says to take a break from self-absorption. Going back to the ballerina, she can't help it. Her parents paid a lot of money, thousands and thousands. Even just for the costumes cost thousands. Paid a lot of money to get her into that. She has to be self-absorbed. She can't excuse herself. Sometimes they're doing it just to make the parents happy. They really want to be a doctor. They don't want to be a ballerina. Maybe they want to be a pro bowler. Who knows? But anyway, they're pleasing their parents. Then there's a word I hope I never see again, but it says narcissexual. It's someone attracted only to himself or herself. And you know those people as conceited. Non-versational. It is a completely meaningless or useless conversation. And we've had these with people that talk over our heads. Sorry, I don't have a PhD. You're talking way over my head. I'm just not getting what you're saying. And if I start to look away from you, you better know that's not a sincere expression of listening. Pregret. And I love this one. I want to remember this one. To know what you're about to do is wrong, while also knowing you will do it anyway. Because there are a lot of people that do foolish things, and they get a little drunk. And this is their category. They preget. Next is prostitute. And I never heard of this before, but it sounds right in line with the prostitute. It's a biased or one-sided journalist. This is the journalist that gets there, reports it, but has in his own mindset what he's really thinking about as far as, I really don't like what they're saying, so I'm going to report it the way I see it, and you get a totally different story in the news. And it has happened a lot this year. Synergy, not S-I-N, but S-Y-N. It's when two bad acts feel as good as doing three. The other one is synergy, S-Y-N, which is a very good word. Another one I thought was very entertaining was sacrifice. It's doing what you absolutely must do, even though you really, really hate it. And they're talking about mowing the lawn. You don't want to do it. It's been 92 degrees the last 3 weeks. If the grass gets any taller, they won't see the house anymore. So you have to get out and mow it, even though you don't want to. Same thing with shoveling snow. Sanitation comes around the corner, throws all the snow back. Wait a minute, I just got rid of 5 feet of snow before. Now there's 6 feet. Not nice, but it has to be done. Texpectation. I can see teenagers using this. Texpectations, tongue twister. Anticipation, felt and waiting for a response to a text. And I've seen people ignore their company, waiting for that text to come in. Oh, this is very important. My doctor's going to tell me if I'm going to live or die. I could live another 2 days or I could drop dead next week. Who knows? But anyway, that's getting very worried about stuff. And then going right along with that is hyperventilate. And that is to send text messages in rapid frequency, almost as if when you look at those people playing those handheld games, that's what hyperventilation is. And I'd like to give the credit to Bill Bolden, who is working for the Del Rio News-Herald. They're the ones that gave this report. I'm hoping personally that they come out with something like this every year, because we can use some of these words. Pick and choose the ones you like.
Thank you, Jen.
Done.
We appreciate always your sense of humor and the way of bringing us up to date with the new vocabulary. Our next speaker is moi. I am going to be giving you a speech on the 5th most common emergency, and that is burns. My evaluator is Sung Ramas, and this is going to be a 7-minute speech. It's from the Competent Communicator Manual. And I look forward to hearing your comments, because I enjoyed investigating this, and the answer to some of these questions I'm sure you know. So the first thing I'm going to ask you is, what kinds of burns do you know about? The kinds of burns. 1st degree, 2nd degree, and 3rd degree burns. The next question I have is, what are the types of burns? The types of burns, there are 4 different types. Did you know there were 4 different types? Well, the first one is a heat burn. The second one is an electrical burn. The third one is a chemical burn. And the 4th one is a cold burn. Now, a burn, I have to give you that definition, is the destruction of a cell. A skin cell is the most common kind of burn that we see. And a skin cell, say that again, a skin cell can be a destruction because of heat, because of energy, because of chemical, or because of cold. And with all the cold that we've been having in January and February, I wanted to make sure that you are aware of that type of burn as well. How do you recognize the burn? Well, for a sunburn, it's quite evident. If you are fair-skinned, you're going to be bright red. Unfortunately, many people burn, whether they have yellow or olive or black or brown skin. It's just very evident on someone that's Caucasian. That's normally something that can be dealt with by home remedy. And the answer to all 4 of these types of burns is lukewarm to cold water. Lukewarm to cold water. That's the first thing that you're going to try and do to remedy the burn. The 2nd degree burn could be a burn from a hot pot, for example, where you grabbed the handle and forgot the pot holder. That's going to result in a blister. Now, there's a lot of thought about bursting the blister or not bursting the blister. The blister is there to protect the skin that's been damaged. It's also being used to help pull that heat away from the burned skin. The old remedy of put an ice cube on it or put butter on it or something else is not a good idea, not at all. Because what happens is you're putting the ice cube on where that burn is, and you're driving the heat into the cells around the ice cube, causing the burn to spread even further. That's why the cold water running over the skin is drawing the heat away, pulling the heat away from the area that's been damaged. A third-degree burn is when it's open sore. The skin has been torn away, burned away, pulled away, sometimes to the point where you might even see bone. That is a very severe third-degree burn. Second and third-degree burns, you should go see medical attention. Third-degree burns, you may need to go to a trauma center because it changes everything within your body that you are now in a fight or flight situation. You're fighting to stay alive. You need assistance. Call 911. So heat burns are most common in the kitchen, but they could be working on a car and touching a part of the engine or the exhaust system that you didn't realize was hot. If you're questioning whether something is hot or not, or cold or not, the best thing to do is to use your hand in a way that your muscle memory and your nerves will draw it away from the object. So you'd come and touch it on the side. If it's very hot or very cold, your body instinctively will pull away. If you're going to grab it, your body is going to hold on to it, and you're really going to get damage. And as you're approaching that object, you actually start to feel the heat or the cold oozing off of that object, so you don't even have to touch it. So the good idea is to approach it in a way that protects you. Electrical burns happen because of a spark, because of an exposed electrical wire, or a defective appliance. If you suspect somebody is getting an electrical burn, the first thing to do is shut off the electricity. Don't try and touch the person or assist the person, because you too might be electrocuted. Once they're safe and it's safe for you, then administer help. And again, cooling off the part that's been affected is best using cool, lukewarm, or room temperature water. The third is a chemical burn. Again, protect yourself. Chemical burns could be from a liquid, a gas, from a powder, or from a solid. There are many solids that you went to go to pick up that will be affected by the water, the moisture in your hand. And so you want to be mindful and aware of that. Powder. The most common powder that you're going to experience is that white dust on top of a battery in the car's engine compartment. That's sulfuric acid. That is going to burn, and it's going to continue to burn until it's been washed away. Again, a water hose for your garden, water in the sink, any of those is your first line of defense. Take a piece of paper or a paper towel and brush that dust powder away. Don't touch it with another hand, because now you've got both being affected. If it's a gas, ventilate the area. Make sure that that gas is being released before you go to help and assist. And third, what we're experiencing, fourth one, what we're experiencing now is the cold burn. That means that your hands are going to start to turn white, and then maybe blue, and maybe a dark blue, or maybe even black. That could be where the cells in your hands are bursting because of a freeze. And the way to address that, again, is cool, lukewarm water. Don't use hot water. You'll actually do more damage because, again, now you're driving the cold deeper into the skin. The lukewarm, cold water will help warm up that extremity. Dry it and put gauze, if it's your fingers, put gauze between the fingers to keep them dry. I hope this information about burns has helped you. Thank you. Our next speaker is Jane Casaloyola, and her speech is about auto-suggestion. Jane?
Thank you very much, Madam Host, and Sue, guests, and our audience. I am going to read to you from the book Think and Grow Rich, the chapter on auto-suggestion. The medium for influencing the subconscious mind. Autosuggestion is a term which applies to all suggestions and all self-administered stimuli which reaches one's mind through the five senses. Stated in another way, autosuggestion is self-suggestion. It is the agency of communication between that part of your mind where conscious thought takes place and that which serves as the seat of action for the subconscious mind. Through the dominating thoughts, which one permits to remain in the conscious mind, whether these thoughts be negative or positive is immaterial. The principle of autosuggestion voluntarily reaches the subconscious mind and influences it with these thoughts. No thought, whether it be negative or positive, can enter the subconscious mind without the aid of the principle of autosuggestion, with the exception of thoughts picked up from the ether. Stated differently, all sense impressions which are perceived through the five senses are stopped by the conscious thinking mind and may be either passed on to the subconscious mind or rejected at will. The conscious faculty serves, therefore, as an outer guard to the approach of the subconscious. Nature has so built man that he has absolute control over the material which reaches his subconscious mind through his five senses, although this is not meant to be construed as a statement that man always exercises this control. In the great majority of instances, he does not exercise it, which explains why so many people go through life in poverty. Recall what has been said about the subconscious mind, resembling a fertile garden spot in which weeds will grow in abundance if the seeds of more desirable crops are not sown therein. Autosuggestion is the agency of control through which an individual may voluntarily feed his subconscious mind on thoughts of a creative nature or by neglect. Permit thoughts of a destructive nature to find their way into the rich garden of the mind. You were instructed in the last of the 6 steps described in the chapter on desire to read aloud twice daily the written statement of your desires for money and to see and feel yourself already in possession of the money. By following these instructions, you communicate the object of your desire directly to the subconscious mind in a spirit of absolute faith. Through repetition of this procedure, you voluntarily create thought habits which are favorable to your efforts to transmute desires into its monetary equivalent. Go back to these 6 steps described in Chapter 2 and read them again very carefully before you proceed further. Then, when you come to it, read very carefully the 4 instructions for the organization of your mastermind group described in the chapter on organized planning. By comparing these 2 sets of instructions with that which has been stated on autosuggestion, you, of course, will see that the instructions involve the application of the principle of autosuggestion. Remember, therefore, when reading aloud the statement of your desire, through which you are endeavoring to develop a money consciousness, that the mere reading of the words is of no consequence unless you mix emotion or feeling with your words. If you repeat 1,000,000 times the famous Emile Crow formula, day by day in every way, I am getting better and better, without mixing emotion and faith with your words, you will experience no desirable results. Your subconscious mind recognizes and acts upon only thoughts which have been well mixed with emotion or feeling. This is a fact of such importance as to warrant repetition in practically every chapter, because the lack of understanding of this is the main reason the majority of people who try to apply the principle of autosuggestion get no desirable results. Plain, unemotional words do not influence the subconscious mind. You will get no appreciable results until you learn to reach your subconscious mind with thoughts or spoken words which have been well emotionalized with belief. Do not become discouraged if you cannot control and direct your emotion the first time you try to do so. Remember, there is no such possibility as something for nothing. Ability to reach and influence your subconscious mind has its price, and you must pay the price. You cannot cheat even if you desire to do so. The price of ability to influence your subconscious mind is everlasting persistence in applying the principles you described here. You cannot develop the desired ability for a lower price. You and you alone must decide whether or not the reward for which you are striving, the money consciousness, is worth the price you must pay for it in effort. Thank you very much.
Jane, what's the name of the book and who's the author again, please?
The name of the book is Think and Grow Rich, and the author is Napoleon Hill.
Thank you, Jane. What a wonderful way for us to think differently as we start a new year.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Kevin Thompson. His evaluator will be Jane Cacciola. Kevin's speech is, love is a 3-letter word. Love is a 3-letter word. Kevin Thompson.
Thank you so much. Thank you, studio audience and audience at home. Guess what month it is? It's February. And in February in the United States is known for 2 things. You want to tell me what they are? It's Black History and Valentine's Day. So I'm here as your Toastmaster and the community representative because I'm an authority on both. If you did not notice, I'm black. And I'm authority on love because, oh, I hear you say it, once you go black, you never go back. So, love. What does love mean to you? When you think about love, it's a feeling. It's something that people say they know it when they see it. So think about somebody that you love. Could be your mother, your dad, your sister, your brother, your significant other, your child, your grandchild. And what does that mean to you? What does that feel like to you? Think about that for a minute. Love ultimately is about relationship. And it's something that we don't talk about in 2019 that much. We don't talk about a relationship. We don't talk about developing relationships. We talk about how we're opposed to each other and knocking heads. But we're not really discussing relationship and how you and I are in relationship with each other. Even if we don't necessarily agree politically, we're still in relationship with each other. Love is all about relationships. Relationships that you have on a daily basis. The problem is that you don't see it as that. You don't recognize it as that, and that is exactly why I decided to have this conversation with you today. Because we need to talk about love. So now I said that love is a three-letter word. So let's count. You with me? L-O-V-E. That's 4. I know you said, now, Kevin, you know better than that. You can count better than that. So let me spell it to you another way. Love is G-O-D. Yes, God is love. And I know you've heard that before. But let me give it to you in an acronym to make it easier for you to understand. God can be used as an acronym, which is grace, overcoming death. That's love. And it's by God's grace that we're all here. Now, I know some of you are not going to believe it, but trust me. Again, I told you, I'm an authority on love. It's by God's grace that we are all here. And it's His grace that allows us to be in interaction with each other and for us to love each other. And I wanted to just give you the opportunity to go out. In fact, I'm going to empower you today to go out, speak to someone who you don't necessarily know, and show them love. You say, well, Kevin, how can I do that? It's very simple. If you're going into a bank, a store, supermarket, and someone's coming in or out, and you hold the door for them, that's a sign of love. If someone drops something on the street and you pick it up for them, that's a sign of love. If you happen to be riding on a bus or train and you see someone come on and they look like they're having problems and you get up and give them your seat, that's a sign of love. Love is evident really in everything that we do. It's an opportunity for each of us to think about, if I was in that person's shoes, how would I want somebody to react to me? Again, love is about relationship. And it's about the relationship that you share with others. And each of those things that I just described is easy. It's simple. It doesn't take money. It doesn't take much thought. But what it does, it takes feeling. You have to think about it. You have to feel it in your heart. And you know what you would want somebody to do for you. So again, love is a 3-letter word. And God is evident in each one of those things that I described to you, because you placed yourself and gave something of yourself for that person to benefit. And that's what God did when He sent His Son, Jesus, here. He sent His Son to give up His life for you and me. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Kevin. Next, we're going to have our first evaluator. That's Lucy Kahn. And she's going to evaluate Isaac's speech. Lucy?
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster, and viewing audience, and especially Isaac. Isaac, I like your smiling face in front of the podium here, and I like the way you talk about how to prepare your speech or how to prepare it showing in front of the TV and making our meeting and our show very successful. I like the way you do this, and then I realized I thought you were frustrated on how to make a speech, but then you said you tell us about how you're frustrated in being a director. It's really nice to know that how our TV show is going to be done, and you show us the steps on how to make the show succeed. You tell us that people should not be banging the lectern or the podium, and people should not walk around. So this way, everybody will be in perfect harmony with our speech and everything, and our TV audience who will really like us and show us the way we do our speech and making it a successful show. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. Our next evaluator is our person here, Sue Brooks, evaluating Joan Marizzi's speech. Sue?
Thank you very much, Rachel. Joan, I thought your speech was a lot of fun, introducing us to words that we may never use. I really liked how you began sourcing Reader's Digest as the inspiration for your speech. I like how you provided a selection of words, read the word, gave the definition as supplied by Reader's Digest, and then gave your own personal spin. In my opinion, I believe it would have been even more effective if you slowed down just a little when enunciating the fun word to give viewers a time to adjust their hearing and to listen very carefully to what the word is. Then repeat the word. That would have made your fun speech even better. I really like how you introduced us to these fun words, and the best part of you using this humor in your ability to persuade us was your own explanation and the way you reacted to these words. In all, it was a lot of fun, and I'm so glad you gave us this enlightening speech from the Reader's Digest Fun Words. Thank you, Joan.
Thank you, Sue. Now we get to hear Sung Ramasa evaluate my speech on the 5th most common emergency, burns. Sue? Sung?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. It's a pleasure to evaluate Rachel's speech. The title was 5th Most Common Emergency Burns. Rachel's speech was very informative, and she succeeded in how to say it. Especially her speech had the great effect on me because I learned a lot about burns that I didn't know before. Rachel did well on the areas of content, organization, grammar, and pronunciation, and everything else that covered in the evaluation guide for the speech. Only one thing that I was wondering is that the evaluation guide mentioned about using rhetorical guide devices that enhances her speech, but I don't think I saw rhetorical devices. Other than that, I could not think of anything that needs to be done differently to make the speech more effective. As always, Rachel excelled at her speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Sung. Our next evaluator is Jane Cosciola, and she's going to be evaluating Kevin's speech, love being a 3-letter word. Jane?
Thank you very much. Kevin's speech on love being a 3-letter word. Of course, I was interested from before he even spoke because, like he said, I knew love was a 4-letter word. But of course, he intertwined that with one of my most treasured spiritual guides, and that is God. So Kevin was engaging from the beginning, and the theory of relationship just gave me more to think about when I think about love. Most of the time when we hear the word love, we think of a romantic love. But Kevin showed us that it's more than just a romantic love. It's a spiritual love, and it's a guide to the people we meet every day. Kevin, of course, always gives a very well-prepared and articulate speech. I enjoyed it very much, and I always look forward to this eloquent speaker that Kevin is. And I want to thank you, Kevin, for sharing that speech with us in this month of February where we celebrate St. Valentine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jane. I skipped over Jane's evaluation, and I'm going to give Jane her evaluation right now. Her reading out loud, being an auto-suggestion, I think it was a very appropriate topic. I didn't know where you were going with that topic when you started, but you had a good vocal variety that drew me in. Your goal was to be able to use your voice to give us something to latch on to hook into. And the volume variety, the vocal variety, the nice rhythm and pace to your reading of that passage really engaged the speech, really got me interested in what was going on there. You gave us pauses. I felt like right where the author wanted us to stop and think about what it was just said before you continued. So I think you had the author's intent and his mind and his ideas there as you're presenting the result. I felt it was also fresh and current and relevant. And with the emotion and feeling that you put into it, you definitely got my attention. The one thing that I wanted to hear at the end was why I asked you the question. Who was the author and what was the book? You started out with that, but I didn't have a clue what you're talking about. And at the end, I wanted to hear it again, so now I can do more and maybe get that book out so I can read it myself. Jane, thank you for that presentation. Our first table topics, extemporaneous speaking, is a guest on the show today. That's Linda Carrozza. Did I say it correctly?
Yes, you did.
And Linda, my question to you is, you heard all those crazy words that were provided by Joan in her speech. Did any one of those really stick out, and why?
I found it a very interesting speech, and I'm very thankful to everybody to invite me. Words are my business. I'm a speech pathologist and therapist by trade, and the words and the use of the idea of the Reader's Digest and giving us a unique aspect of the definition of words definitely was extremely clever. And it's something that I think I might be able to use in my own teaching, because sometimes we think very concretely and we don't think out of the box. And actually, obviously, with society changing so fast today, with kids using text and other types of messages, and us observing that in society without having the vocabulary to actually describe it, it really will add to my own vocabulary and definition and my communication. And I believe communication is key, and those words were very on target, and they're part of our lexicon now. So I really appreciate the idea of learning about the new words that were presented today.
Thank you, Jane. Linda?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, everybody.
Our next table topics person is going to be Jane. So Jane's coming back up again. Jane, the question I have for you is, have you ever experienced a burn, and what did you do about it?
Okay. Yes, I have experienced a burn. I remember many years ago, probably maybe 35 years ago, I did smoke at that time. I no longer smoke. But cigarette lighters were very common in the car. And at that time, I had put the cigarette lighter in, I plugged it in, and when I went to go pull it out, I actually dropped it, and I picked it up right on the element. And I put my thumb on that element, and I burnt my thumb. Well, I had to pull over as soon as I could because the burn was quite severe. I actually then had to find cold water, and I did put the cold water on it. But at this point in time, I think I changed my fingerprint at that moment when I burnt that whole skin. So that was the most significant burn I've ever had. So,
Thank you, Jane.
thank you.
Our next table topics person is Isaac. We're bringing him back out again from the control room. Hi, Isaac. My question
Hello.
to you is, you have been a world traveler. What have you done to keep yourself cool or warm in your travels?
Well, cool or warm? Actually, cool, it's kind of difficult because we can only undress so much. But warm, it's a different story. And I actually used layers. Rachel actually gave us a speech that showed how to stay warm. And I do actually do that. I use layers. And recently I just went to Alaska in July. It kind of seems that July and Alaska, why would you have layers? Oh, you need layers in Alaska, okay? And it actually does help. Helps a lot, especially when you're going from, let's say, inside to outside, outside to inside. You need to change. You need to undress, you need to unbutton, and then you have to dress up and button up again. And that's the only way. Because otherwise, you're either too sweaty, or you're too cold, and you don't want to be either, because you want to enjoy. You want to enjoy, and it's a lot to enjoy. Maybe one of these days I will do a speech about Alaska, and there's a lot to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you, Isaac. Joan, you're our next table topics contestant here.
Oh, right.
And
Prizes.
the question I have for you is, when you heard the description of autosuggestion that Jane gave in her speech, how did that resonate with you?
I'm already into those type of books. I have actually read quite a few. There's a couple that used to do something like that. I forget their name, but the wife has carried on from that time. And I'll tell you, it really does work. You have to really convince yourself that you've already achieved your goal so that it can happen that much sooner. I know I get rid of my own headaches through autosuggestion, and I haven't taken a headache pill. I guess it's about 10 years or more now. And I've taught other people over the phone that actually understand what you have to do not to get another headache. Nurses that are under pressure. All the stuff that's happening today, there could be so much less of it if people would use what Jane suggested. So I have to say I enjoy that. There's colostrum cream for burns, however. I burnt my hands on dry ice. I had something I was in the middle of. I put the cream all over my fingers, put my fingers in those plastic gloves. A half hour later, there was nothing there. And my husband said, "That's a miracle." I said, "No, that's God's colostrum cream." So if you can get your hands on colostrum cream, you can save a lot of trouble with burns. And be smart. Don't get burned to begin with.
Thank you, Joan.
Thank you.
Well, Susan, I think we've been able to pull off another show, and I thank you for being my co-host. What did you think about our show today?
I think it went very smoothly. I'm really glad that we heard a lot of engaging speeches and great table topics responses. And what I really enjoyed, Rachel, was the ability of our group to pull together as a team to make last-minute changes, to fill in when somebody didn't show up, and to come up with a plan in very little time to make it such a success. I had a lot of fun with the show today. How about you?
I've had a lot of fun also. I've been able to be a guest at the table, and to be here and be the host of the table has been a privilege and a pleasure. But we do wish Fran a swift and healthy recovery, and looking forward to her once again filling this seat for Toastmasters in the community. With all that we've done, we have a huge legacy that we have to thank Fran for the vision of putting Toastmasters in the community together, for drawing us here and getting us trained, encouraging us to be able to step out of our comfort zones, to be able to speak on TV, to have guests come from all over, whether that be Staten Island or Manhattan or Bronx or Brooklyn or even Long Island or New Jersey. It's quite a feat to be able to be here and to put on a show that benefits the community, benefits those in our studio audience, our home audience, and to be able to use the venue of TV to demonstrate Toastmasters and what Toastmasters can do for you. If you have any interest in becoming a Toastmaster or finding out more about it, there are 5 or more clubs here on Staten Island or in the local area, maybe where you work. Feel free to reach out to us. At the end of the show, you'll see our email address. It's toastmasters.org for the International Toastmasters Organization, and tm83.org for our district, which is here in the New York, New Jersey area. Again, we invite you to become and participate in Toastmasters. It can be a life changer, as Kevin shared in a previous speech. Thank you, and have a wonderful, healthy
You got a minute.
Valentine's Day.
You can ask me another question.
All right. Well, Sue, how did you get involved with Toastmasters in the community?
Great question. I had been invited several times by Fran to come check out one of the shows, but I was always busy. Maybe another time. And then I was invited to come out to join a speak out at a baseball game. Everybody would present a speech, and everybody would be an evaluator. Everybody, pardon the pun, pitched in to have a good time and to help each other out. I was intrigued by the baseball game and the speak out, and Fran knew that I was working on a project in one of the advanced manuals, interestingly enough, presenting on TV. So I thought, great, I'll come out to the show. So Fran provided me with 3 evaluators, and I presented my speech on TV and was thrilled to be a part of the group. And I decided I would love to join the club. Soon after that, I was happy to be on the crew.
Well, thank you.
Great job. Wasn't sure what they were
Okay,
saying.
everyone can come forward.
Yeah, a lot of fun.